Oh hey, I haven't much else to do before the year ends, and I think it's fitting if I play another difficult game while I talk. I don't know why climbing is becoming a thing of mine, it just happened.
Who could have guessed that after playing 2 games where you have to climb to the top with wacky physics and controls, another climbing game gets introduced to me? Why are people making games like this? The influence of Getting Over It cannot be underestimated. It's like underestimating the rise of a clone of Vine, and that clone actually became the most popular social media website of all time. P.S. Vine is better. To end this year, I decided to get things over with and play one of the last difficult games inspired by Getting Over It. To think this is a Christmas present is an understatement. I literally lost 5 years of my life playing this game.
Maybe it is a gift.
A difficult game about climbing was developed by solo developer Pontypants, who even uploaded a devlog on YouTube discussing the process of the physics and the gameplay, as well as how he shifted from using the Godot engine to the Unity engine. As you can tell, it is heavily inspired by Getting Over It. Unlike Only Up, which is just a soulless platformer with no unique gameplay and a bunch of copyright material and NFTs, this game features the controls in a way where movement is restricted to only using your arms and hands to traverse obstacles, because legs are useless when your character is bald. There's evidence. Well, there's not much to talk about, so let's get on with the game. This game begins with you in the middle of a body of water, and in front of you is your first obstacle. Just like Getting Over It, you're gonna be moving your arm a lot. How far you move your arm is also going to determine the power and length of swinging. It also increases the chance of hurting your arm. That's right, psychological and mental damage isn't enough. Add a broken carpal tunnel in there as well. You hold the mouse button to hold onto a ledge with your respective arm. The same goes with releasing it. It's as simple as Getting Over It, and you can master the controls so quickly that it feels like the mouse is an extra limb. But, oh, what's this? This game has controller support?
The mouse being the only control method adds to the frustration of the game, so I think this game would also work well with a controller. I imagine might be worse than using a mouse. Actually, I'm regretting this idea. Please, if any modders watch this, do not make a mod for this. Oh god.
I never used my controller. I know it might have made the game a bit easier, but I don't do that. I'm a humble man.
But I have limits.
This game was only released on PCs. It's meant to be played on PCs. I will do fine on mouse and keyboard. So in this first level or tutorial, you are introduced to the main principles of the game. Climbing, of course, is the main one, so there are specific objects that you can hold on to and others where you can't. Another thing to master in this game is swinging. Just like Getting Over It, you need to generate enough momentum to get across large gaps. It's easier said than done though. Your arms are more sensitive, and because of that, you can flail too much in the air and you'd lose progress. Also, do not waste more of your time. There's nothing at the edges of the map when you swim there. It's useless. Don't do that. This, however, is the first real obstacle of the game. You have to swing at the right speed and angle to grab onto that ledge. It looks easy, but man, is it hard. You have to do some precise calculations to get this right. Even the slightest mistake will make you start this level again because of how sensitive the controls are. And you wouldn't believe how many tries it took me to get past that gap. I mean, you probably don't believe me a lot every time I talk, so why am I even bothering? Anyway, when you make it across the gap, carefully swing your way under, climb the most slippery tree in existence, and... is that... a checkpoint?
This really is Christmas.
I can't believe it. There's checkpoints here. There's no way. I don't think my eyes and ears are lying to me. This is real. Checkpoints exist. But it also means we entered the second level, and this is just going to get a lot harder as we progress. Do you hear that? Actual progression. I'm still letting out my anger against Only Up. Fuck that game. In this new level, almost everything is wet. However, to make up for this level's love of moisture, there are these plants or flowers that you can surprisingly hold on to. It's as strong as my will to be optimistic. Not. There's this part in the level where you have to swing beside a large waterfall. The rocks you need to grab are incredibly small, and trying to grab them can be a bit tricky, especially since accidentally holding your mouse button and missing can make the waterfall drag you downwards. That's pretty much the highlight of this level, other than the part where you have to grab onto this large hand. I'm glad this game doesn't include height features so that everyone can experience what it's like to be an Asian. That level was a nice trip to nature. Hopefully the next one has a similar theme. Of course not. So this is when the game finally gets more difficult. There are a lot of jumps involved, meaning you have to stretch your arms when progressing through certain parts of the level. Especially with the large wheels at the beginning of the game, you really need to focus on the timing to get to where you must go. That's about it for the majority of this level. It's all about timing. It doesn't look that hard since it may look like the turning wheels can help you progress much faster, but it really isn't. This level is incredibly tiring, especially if you make a mistake. The consequences are severe. But the level doesn't end there. You have to climb through these buildings and windows. There is this one little jump that might look terrifying, but it's actually easy. Then you have to carefully make your way up this dome-like structure. And this is where the level truly shines. You have to swing your way across a bunch of clothes, and it is painful. The clothes are so sensitive whenever you move. It is insane. There are also parts where you have to jump across to get to the next clothes. This is starting to get on my nerves. For the next level, you have to climb across this bouldering wall. If you grab the green handles, they will fall off, so don't grab them. Next, you have to use both your arms on this red circular handle and try to swing with the right momentum to get to the tree branch. This one's not that hard to fail, you just need to be careful not to overshoot your jump. For this next one, you can climb up this wheel, however that might take up a long time since the wheel turns around a lot. Instead, you can just swing like before and try to grab onto the sails. This one is a lot trickier than the last, so you need to be careful. Just make it to the top, swing across the power line to the left, and try not to grab onto those shoes. I haven't tried it myself, but I don't trust those shoes. For the last obstacle in this level, you have to balance this thing and get the right momentum to grab onto that anchor. The problem is that this thing likes to move around wherever you are, so you're going to spend a lot of time trying to get this thing to progress. Failing here is incredibly drastic, since you're likely going to restart this entire level again. This last part takes a long time to beat, and I suddenly have this urge to kill my mouse. Not yet though, soon. The start of this next level is much more challenging than the latter part, since the obstacles that follow are pretty straightforward. Carefully climbing up, you have to swing across these crates to get to the other side. All you need to do here is to be as fast as possible. Once again, do not hold on to the green handle. Do a little bit more careful climbing, and this is the hardest part of the level. You have to grab onto the first sack, and once the weights start to move, you have to be fast enough to swing to the other sack and grab onto the pipes on the other side. Failing this part just means you have to restart the level, which isn't that bad since the entire level is a bit short, but this part is brutal. But after that part, it's smooth sailing from here. Just be careful not to fall here since you might end up back in the second level, which would be incredibly devastating. This next level might be the most difficult of all. You have to swing across these rocks which look harder than it is. You even have to slightly stretch your arm to get to certain rocks. But that doesn't end there. First, you have to swing correctly to get to the wheel. The problem is that the wheel is too far, so the chances of you missing or overshooting your swing are pretty high. I hate this part with all my life. The placement of the wheel is so unfair. You have the high ground before reaching the wheel, and even trying to get there, you're most likely going to get bumped by the wall. I hate it. Lastly, once you get to the wheel, you must swing towards the next rock. Actually, this last part isn't that hard, but I fucking hate the wheel. It took me so many attempts, I hate it. After the wheel, you have to climb through these lanterns. It may look intimidating, but surprisingly, you get a ton of grip on these lanterns, so all you have to worry about is to not let go of your grips. For the last part of this level, you just have to carefully make your way through these rocks. Each of these rocks is so far away from the other and has little space for you to hold on to. Plus, this part is a bit long, so just take your time trying to get across. Finally, we made it to the last level of the game. The last circle of hell. What makes this level really good for me is that there isn't a ton of special gimmicks. It is purely made out of raw, traditional rock climbing, and I love it. All you need to finish this level is pure skill. Everything you learned from the previous levels has summed up to this. It's great, but the fact that I call this level great doesn't excuse the fact that this level is terrifying. Failing at the first half of the level isn't incredibly drastic since you'll end up right back to the start of the level, but I've come so far and suffered too much anger that every fall I make is pain. Most of the challenges in this level is mostly trying to make correct jumps and patiently trying to get a good grip on small rocks. Once you make it halfway into the level, the spaces where you need to hold on to are so tight that it's easy for your hands to slip away, causing you to fall. Not only that, but the jumps you need to make have to be so precise. In some parts, you need to swing wildly mid-air, and other times you need to stay upright. The jumps just kill me every time. It's so hard to jump with a mouse since it's so sensitive. Even when I adjust the settings, the controls feel weird because I got so used to how sensitive the mouse is. But other than all that, nothing is as brutal as this. Upon grabbing this red handle, you have to gain enough momentum to stay upright enough to jump and grab onto the rocks on the other side. This is pain at its fullest. You don't even want to know how much time I spent trying to get there, and yet I failed at this part over and over again. Wait. Snow? Breeze? Air?
The air keeps pushing us and it is infuriating. The wind makes everything way harder. No! And god damn, the wind is fucking back. And it's still janky as ever, like it wouldn't be in any other game.
Air? It was air the whole time! So after the last challenge, climbing through the last set of rocks, we finally made it to the cabin where we received a crown and some confetti, but that cloud seemed a little bit suspicious. Oh, it's not over? Not over? A ladder? Oh, it's the credits. And we return back to the tutorial. Great. So that's a difficult game about climbing. Compared to Getting Over It and my least favorite game in the world, I'd say this game is the easiest out of them all. It's much more forgiving with the inclusion of save points throughout each level, and the fact that it's short. It being a bit easier may be a problem for some people, but for someone who has very little time to do anything, I don't really see an issue there. Also, I love that there's controller support, which, according to most people, makes the game easier compared to playing on the mouse. I know I played this entire game without a controller support, since I thought that playing with a mouse was a definitive experience for the game, but I might be wrong on that. As for the level designs, there's not much to talk about really. It takes a lot of inspiration from Getting Over It, and I respect that. My main complaint about the levels is that the objects, where if you grab onto them, they move, and you might think that you're gonna fall, but you're actually not. Those objects tend to get repeated not a whole lot, but more than they need to in each level. I wish there were more environmental hazards at each level. Maybe at the last level, the breeze can push you a bit slightly. I know this might contradict what I said earlier about the game being too easy, which I like, but with environmental hazards, it might make the game more interesting. Also, I'm glad that there's no background music or some buffoon quoting random people in the background. That was one of the main reasons why I'm never playing Getting Over It ever again. I have huge respect to you, Sir Pontypants.
I don't know why I do these things. It's like playing the hardest games of all time is just an instinct of mine. It just happens and I can't control it. You know, this is the worst Christmas ever. Why is my mouse a telephone? Yeah?
Hey, it's me. Listen, I demand a fucking raise for saving your past self. I had to do your itsy bitsy ass task in the middle of a fucking galactic war. Don't try adding onion rings to my raise. I had enough of circles.
Who's this?
What? You don't remember me? You're the first fucking person to say my name right.
I think you got the wrong number.
Wait, what? Who am I talking to?
Oh, my name is...
Yep, totally got your name.
Look, I honestly don't know who you are, or why my mouse is a telephone, and what do you mean by you're saving my past self?
Oh crap. Quick question. Do you wear glasses?
I mean, I used to always wear it, but then I lost it for a time, then I got a new one, so it's probably tradition at this point.
Do you remember sending onion rings to anyone before?
No?
Shit. Hand call.
Wait. This is the weirdest Christmas ever.
Well, there's only one way to find out if I did things right.